Welcome and welcome back. Yes, today's leak was that bosses basically drop full items now. Let's talk about it. Starting with Misthalin and Karamja. Now, before we didn't know if we were going to have access to Tormented Demons. We weren't sure if there was going to be some sort of region combination or anything like that. Plus, it was going to be really difficult to build out the Emberlight. But now we know we are going to have access to all of the Demon Bane weapons in the starting region. Now, we still don't know exactly how it's going to work, if we're going to be able to fight Tormented Demons kind of from the start, or if we're still going to have to maybe like unlock a number of areas to eventually get access to them or something like that. But it doesn't really matter because we now know that we are guaranteed to get these weapons. And this is especially nice for Emberlight, which is going to drop as a completed item from the Tormented Demons. So you're going to have all of these Demon Bane weapons available to you once you farm through Tormented Demons, and you're also going to have the Claws as a spec weapon. So I'm pretty excited about this because these are actually pretty strong weapons, really. Obviously, they're gonna be strong against demons, but also this bow is still pretty good. I mean, even if you're not fighting demons, it does some good damage. So like, if you are struggling to get equipment together, I think these are gonna be really helpful for you. And just to kind of help iterate what exactly these are gonna help you take down, I've got all the different like high level demon bosses, I guess mobs for the no people that are taking Kourend at this point. But all of that stuff is shown here. So it's gonna be especially good, I think, in Asgarnia because we already know that the Echo boss is gonna be Cerberus. So this is going to be like best in slot stuff to take down both the normal Cerberus and the Echo Cerberus. It's also going to make things like Abyssal Sire a lot easier. Abyssal Sire is like a pain in the butt, especially if you don't have Ancients, but having access to the Demon Bane weapons to kind of like scale your damage up can definitely help a little bit with that. Duke going down quicker. Rip Kourend, dude. No one's going to fight these. No one's going to fight the demonic gorillas, all right? I mean, technically these weapons work against them, but you know Kourend's gone. Next up, we have the Desert. And one of the big things that came with today's leak is the fact that bosses are going to drop full rings. Now, I know a lot of you in the comments were talking about this as a possibility. So for those of you who did, congratulations. You got it right. You're really smart. And this doesn't necessarily change the Desert, I think, because the Desert was already going to be really strong with range. It just weakens your case for taking the Fremnik region. Now, the Fremnik region still has the Echo jewelry, which is going to be best in slot. So it's still going to be worth taking the Fremnik region. But if you wanted to try and play around with your build, maybe you've got some other regions that you want to pick up, you now have access to this ring. So it's not quite as important to pick that up for the jewelry. Then we have got Morytania. And I think Morytania in particular really benefits from this change because originally the Amulet of Rancor, which is normally a best in slot necklace, as well as the Avernic Defender, which is normally best in slot for your shield if you're going melee, both of these things require other areas in order to get them. So it kind of limited the build paths that you had available to you. But now that you're getting these as full items, you essentially could just pick Morytania. And again, this is kind of like, this is weakening the case a little bit for the Fremnik region as well as the Wilderness for that shield slot. It's just good. I like Morytania was already such an enclosed area for melee builds. This is just strictly like a good thing for Morytania. And I'll say the same thing that I did about the Desert. Taking the Fremnik region for the best in slot jewelry is still going to be really good because that Echo jewelry is going to be better than anything else that you would normally find in the game. But this just opens up that flexibility. And because you don't need other areas in order to pick this stuff up, I know I'm not talking about the boots, but the boots are a good alternative. So like if you don't have dragon boots or prims, you know, you do have these as well. This is definitely taking away from that Asgarnia combo as well as the Kourend combo. Rip Kourend. I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to say that, dude, but Kourend, man, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're gonna do to save Kourend. But yes, I am loving the changes for Morytania. Speaking of loving the changes, oh my goodness, look at Kourend, dude. If you wanted to get all 4 of these items here, look at all of the regions you would have had to combine together. It's literally impossible. So the fact that we get access to all of these things just straight up as item drops, this is going to be super good. You've got the Dragon Hunter Lance coming from the Alchemical Hydra. So this just gives you kind of like another melee option. If you ended up going Kourend, you want to do some sort of fun like dragon slaying melee build, something like that. And I also think that this slots really well with the Ferocious Gloves, where you previously would have had to go to Fremnik to get them, also coming from the Alchemical Hydra. Actually, 3 of these drops come from the Alchemical Hydra, so it's suddenly like actually a worthwhile boss to farm in this area. But because you get what are traditionally like the best in slot melee gloves, and actually, I just want to show you the stats on these really quick because they are going to be best in slot in the league for melee. They are better than the Barrows gloves that you get from Morytania. Not by a lot, but by 2 extra strength bonus and 4 extra melee accuracy. So it's interesting. It's interesting, and I don't know for melee folks if it's necessarily going to be worth it for you to pick up Kourend just for the sake of having these gloves. But the fact that they are going to be available like this, I think Kourend is starting to look really appealing for some specific melee combinations because you already get kind of like some interesting melee related items. I know a lot of people like to do a door build between Morytania with Justiciar and then coming out to Kourend to pick up the Din's Bulwark. So now, not only can you do that, but you can also pick up something like the Ferocious Gloves best in slot melee, and then kind of work on like a Dragon Hunter build or Elder Maul build, or just lean into that Scythe now that you have a little bit extra strength bonus there. The other 2 items here, I also think that the Dragon Crusher necklace thing, if I'm getting the name right, this one is a very strong prayer necklace. So this could be potentially interesting for the Varlamore Echo weapon, depending on how that damage scales, but I do believe this is the best in slot prayer necklace. Plus, you're going to pick up the Kodai wand. I don't think this one is particularly big for Kourend because you already get the shadow through the raid. So just, you know, extra magic weapon for you. Maybe you can pair it with like the Tome of Fire if you wanted to go for elemental related spells and not take Kandrin. Dude, Kandrin is in this list every time, I swear. Next up, we have got Tirannwn, the elf area. I don't think this is too crazy. You are getting yourself the Trident of the Swamp from Zulrah. Great, you don't have to pick Kandrin. Everybody hates on Kandrin, including Jagex, so, you know, that is something. Fun to meme on it, I guess. I don't know, man. I mean, it's good that Tirannwn now gets at least a little bit of magic representation in the region, but I don't think anyone's taking Tirannwn for a magic build, so I don't know how useful this is going to be. Also, they didn't mention the Toxic Staff anywhere, so I guess we're not getting that as a full item, and I do wonder if the Toxic Trident here replaces the actual Zulrah item. We may not be able to make the Toxic Staff of the Dead. I don't know that anybody was going to try and do that as a build, but that's definitely like, if you were, that dream might be dead. Sorry for the 3 people out there who really wanted to do that. Next, we have Asgarnia, and I don't think these are really anything crazy for Asgarnia. You get the upgraded Warrior Ring. I mean, that's cool for the region. If you weren't going to go Fremnik, I suppose that does something for you. This just isn't like best in slot melee ring or anything, so you don't get like a ton of benefit out of that. And kind of the same deal with the magic boots here. Like, Asgarnia is not a magic region. You might pick it if you're going a mage route just as like a secondary thing that fills some of your other combat style slots. So it is like a nice pickup, but again, I don't think it's anything crazy. Last up, we have Varlamore, and I especially like that Varlamore, since it has Vardorvis, we are now going to get a fully completed Ultor ring from Varlamore. And again, while the Fremnik jewelry is going to be better than anything that you can get in those slots, it's just opening you up to have a bit more flexibility in your build. You might be able to do some sort of cool Blood Moon build based around Varlamore, and you don't have to take the Fremnik region if you don't want to. Yeah, you'll still get more strength bonus, so it's probably still going to be worth that pickup. But if you wanted to do something else, something a little bit more different, maybe you've got like Varlamore, Kourend, Morytania, or something like that, you don't have to feel quite as bad as you would have otherwise. And same deal, you get yourself a pair of the Echo boots from the Colosseum. Now, this is an upgraded version of the Guardian boots that come from Morytania, so they're quite similar. I mean, stat-wise, they are almost identical. I think these have a +2 prayer bonus over the Guardian boots, so that does jive really nicely with the Echo Soul Spear special, which, again, that is a prayer-based special. It gets damage based on your prayer. So nice little synergy there. But again, these aren't necessarily like best in slot boots, just a good kind of placeholder, I think, for most folks. Now, you will notice I didn't include these 3 regions here And that's because nothing effectively changed with this information. Pretty much everything in the wilderness is self-contained, so there wasn't any sort of changes needed there. Kandrin, again, it's all very self-contained, although I will say Kandrin stocks, they don't exist anymore. There's no Kandrin stocks at all, dude. And the Fremnik region, since you are already having to take it for a ring, yes, technically, Duke Succulus will drop you the Magus ring, just as a whole ring. But since you were going to have to take Fremnik anyway in order to get the Seer's ring to make that ring, it doesn't actually change anything for it. So these regions, essentially the same. And I would encourage you, if you want to get a little bit more information about what other gear is available in these regions, to check out my playlist that I'll link up here, which I go over all of the different areas in depth. Now that we have this information, you'll know when I'm talking about certain combinations that you actually don't even need those combinations for a lot of the items now. So it's just gonna make everything feel a little bit nicer. And while I don't think that this changes my overall tier list that much, I did want to do a quick update to it. So as you can see, most of this stuff at the top stayed very much the same. I did move the Desaert up slightly because I think the fact that now you can get all of this jewelry without having to go to other regions, it weakens Fremnik just a hair. Those Echo jewelry pieces are so strong though. I think a lot of people are still going to end up wanting to take Fremnik just because it's not that you're topping one slot, because, you know, some of the regions you have like a necklace or a ring, but because you go to Fremnik, you get both of those things. They're both crazy strong. It's just a really easy way to get a lot of extra power out of your build if you don't have to pick other regions. I also wanted to move these starter regions up back into B tier. Welcome back, Mistalin and Karamja. It does put the tier list off balance a little bit, but I felt bad with it sitting around next to the Kandrin tier. And because you're getting those demonic weapons, I think it's going to be pretty good. Whether or not you get it at the start, or maybe it's like that progressive region unlock, so by the time you've unlocked your third region, maybe then you get access to killing tormented demons. Either way, I think it's going to be really good. So that is all I have got for you today. Subscribe if you want to see more Leagues content. I'm going to be covering all the daily leaks as well as a couple other things. I've got my Discord linked in the description down below, and I will be streaming the start of the League. It's going to start on November 27th at 6 a.m. Central Time. I'm going to start my stream a couple hours after that at 9 a.m. Central. If you want to join me on my Leagues journey, then make sure to stop by. We can hang out, play some Leagues, have a good time. So with that, thanks for watching, and I will catch you tomorrow.